China says it has successfully stamped out extreme poverty. President Xi Jinping has declared the feat a major victory. It's been a key policy goal since he took power 8 years ago. Mr. Xi says more than 770 million rural residents have been lifted out of poverty in the last 4 decades. In contrast, India has managed to bring only about half that number out of the lowest poverty band over the same period. And that would mean China has achieved the United Nations poverty reduction goal 10 years ahead of schedule. But Beijing's claims have been met with skepticism. Its criteria is different from the international standard. Its official extreme poverty line is around $1.50 per day. That's lower than the UN criteria of $1.90. Now, there have also been thousands of corruption cases linked to poverty work. Officials have been accused of faking data to receive funding. And the declaration of victory also doesn't take into account the gap between rich and poor. Olivia Xiong with more.
In a ceremony broadcast live on state media, Chinese President Xi Jinping personally handed out awards to those who had contributed to China's fight in eradicating poverty, a key policy goal for Mr. Xi since he came to power in 2012, and China now says about 100 million people have been lifted above the poverty line in the last 8 years. Mr. Xi's personal involvement was also highlighted during the ceremony. In his hour-long speech, the Chinese leader touched on how he had chaired work conferences and visited impoverished regions over the years. The timing significant as President Xi approaches the end of his second 5-year term next year, though he is widely expected to stay on in power. Mr. Xi also credited China's success in eliminating poverty to the Communist Party.
今天我们隆重召开大会，庄严宣告，经过全党全国各族人民共同努力，在迎来中国共产党成立100周年的重要时刻，我国脱贫攻坚战取得了全面胜利。
Now, Mr. Xi added that the country has created a Chinese model for poverty reduction while also contributing to the global effort. In line with the party's 100th anniversary, China is expected to declare it has become a moderately prosperous society in the middle of this year, with poverty alleviation a key part of that effort. But some observers have questioned whether China's poverty line has been set at too low a bar, at $2.30 per day. This is slightly above the World Bank's lowest threshold of $1.90, but still lower than the benchmarks for lower and upper middle income countries. There are also those who question how sustainable these efforts are and how urban poverty can be addressed as well. Mr. Xi seeming to acknowledge this, saying that this is not the finishing line, but a starting point. Olivia Xiong, CNA, Beijing.